Yeah, pretty physical. Did a team run period today. Was the first time that we worked third and short. That looked kind of like it should, just from a physicality standpoint. We've got a lot of 9-on-7 periods in. Starting to get a lot more team in. The first, I think coach has done a good job of the drills were so important early. We had all kinds of indie and special teams drills, one-on-one periods. Just individualized stuff. And as spring goes on, you get more and more team stuff. And so, we got healthy numbers. Which is allowing us to get three groups. I've never been able to do three groups in spring. And we're maintaining being able to do three groups. So everybody's getting reps, everybody's getting looked at, everybody's getting evaluated, and we're getting a lot of team reps, which is encouraging.
What are your impressions of the offensive line, knowing that there are a few guys out?
Yeah, they got yelled at a lot today. You can tell it's practice number 9, and with it being as physical as it's been, we're starting to get some guys that are feeling it a little bit, and had a little stomach bug going on too, which knocked a couple of guys out, which is, I thought we would pull the plug on the third group and we didn't. So that good for those guys of, having to play more snaps. All those young guys and new guys, just the more snaps that they can log, the better it's going to be. So, just really happy with that group as far as hanging in there and just giving it everything that they got. It doesn't always look good, but we talk a lot about really focusing on your technique, and those guys, it may take years. I mean, the old adage, you put young kids at the O-line position into the program and you just kind of forget about them for a couple of years, because it takes so long for that group, that position to, get bigger, understand the technique and just work technique so much over the course of years to where it starts making sense and you start getting good at it. So a lot of those guys still got, a couple years to go. The good news is we got 4 guys over there that are all injured that are going to be back in the summer, and so we'll be able to add 4 veteran guys that have logged a lot of snaps. So I'm encouraged with that happening in June.
In a way, all of these receivers are newcomers to the way you want to coach and the way Tequil wants to coach. How have you seen them maybe rise up to the standards that the two of you have for that position?
Yeah, that's a work in progress too. Just from this is how we're going to do it type thing. That's not going to happen overnight either. I mean, fortunately, you have you got some vets in there like I consider Luke a skill guy. Lindenmeyer. I mean, he's a veteran guy that is coming into his own. Dane Keys played a lot. He gets more comfortable with Dylan every day. Is starting to show up. Bonner is a tough guy. That's a skill guy that plays a whole lot of things and a lot of just a tough guy that plays fast. And then Jacory's a vet as well. Nyziah Hunter made a couple of plays today that I've been waiting on him. So it's starting to make sense to those guys that have logged reps, and then, the young guys just got to keep plugging away. A lot of times those guys their heads spinning. We've got pretty much everything in. And I call it like, if we get into situational stuff, third downs, everything's on the table. It's not just the plays of the day. You get down into the red zone, everything's on the table. It's not just the plays of the day. So you can see their heads, the younger guys, Cortez and Isaiah, those guys are, their heads are spinning when you put it all together, which is understandable. The good news is it's spring practice, going on number 10. So we got 5 more opportunities to coach them and then come back in June and work more football, before the real deal happens.
What do you see from the backs, aside from Emmett, who's more of a known commodity?
Yeah, Emmett's Emmett. He's playing well. Kwinten Ives is showing up. And the rest of them are all just young. That just need 100 reps. They need 1,000 reps at things. So they're giving good effort. EJ, we'll talk a little bit more about those guys when he comes up, but just young guys that need to come on. They need to keep playing and keep repping to see who that third guy can be, because that third guy is going to happen. I've I've never went into a season where the third guy is not a reality at some point, and the fourth guy is not a reality at some point. So those guys need to understand that and treat every practice like it's I got to get better at something time.
What's it look when you say Ives is showing up? What's that picture look like?
Just playing with better pad level, I mean, just getting his pads low, running hard, running physical, being physical and pass protection. He's just I go back to when I was here for the last 3 games. I mean, he wasn't a guy that we could count on at that point, and then the amount of time that he repped in December was really, really, really good for him. Okay, and went into the bowl game and scored a touchdown on the goal line. I think that gave him some confidence, and it's carried over. The good news is it's carried over. In January, February, March, he knew it was his time and took that seriously. And then we're out there for 9 practices. He's been a guy that we can count on for 9 practices.
Curious, Nyziah Hunter making some plays. Just what do you think about his potential, and what does he maybe need to work on to get there?
Yeah, he plays strong. He plays physical. You could see that on video. When we recruited him, he would make contested catches. He would run through, break tackles. Physical. He's a physical guy. He's 205 pounds. And plays physical. I've coached 210-pound guys that don't play physical. Nyziah does. He's got above average speed. He got behind a corner on a go route here, which I haven't seen that since I've been here. As a wideout, just actually like running by somebody and catching it over his shoulder. I mean, that was encouraging. But he plays physical. At this level, you're gonna have to run through stuff. You're gonna have to make contested catches when people are on your back. And he possesses the ability to be able to do that. So does Dane. Dane's a vet. Nyziah is just a sophomore. He's just got 1 year under his belt. But it's good to see. I didn't think he looked great in mat drills. In the off season stuff. He's just never used to it. He's never done it in his life. He's never done that. But when the pads came on, okay, yeah, that's why we recruited him.
What have you seen from some of those early enrollee guys like Cortez Mills and Isaiah Mozee, just how they've blended in that deep receiver?
Both those guys are going to contribute. They will be contributors in the fall. Okay, so they will continue to get better. We'll continue to figure out what they do well. On one-on-one reps, those guys probably have the highest percentage success rate. That very rarely do DBs get their hands on those guys. They have the unique ability to be able to stay away from defenders. They're not very strong, so the contested catch stuff is not probably what you want it at this point. But those guys do a good job with body control and just playing the game. Now their heads are spinning, which slows them down some. But they really do a good job. They're talented young men. They're 2 very talented kids that will play this year.
Donovan was talking last week about the center position and what it takes to play there. How do you feel how that's been tracking this spring so far?
With Justin, I've been very happy with it. The snaps, the snaps need to improve a little bit. Which is not surprising because he's been playing guard, right? But very happy with his mentality. He's taken over a leadership role. When I was here for the 2 months last year, I don't think he said one word. Like, I never heard him talk in the huddle. I never heard him. I mean, he played well. He was physical. But now he's kind of coming out of that. He's always been kind of an undersized overachiever, and I'm like, you got to get that mindset out of your head. I mean, you are a dude. He can be as good a center that exists in college football. I firmly believe that, so really happy with his progress. And, you can see quite a bit of a drop off when the other guys get in. They're all young and just need a ton of reps. That's what I said about the O-line a little bit ago. Those 3 are a prime example of that.
Portal window opening next week.
Is it? Gee, you trying to put me in a bad mood or what? I was happy just out there coaching ball and not having to worry about all that stuff. I mean, you got bad news? What do you got?
Just based on what you've seen this spring, how active a stretch or how important a stretch do you expect that to be?
I don't have a clue what that's going to look like. I mean, we have so many kids getting so many reps. Nobody's complaining. You know, everybody's given effort. Everybody's got opportunities to play. Everybody's got opportunities to show us what they got. I mean, if I was anybody on this football team, there would not be anything that I would be upset about, because you're repping. You know, the way that they're treated here is unreal compared to what I've been used to. You know, I think you could ask. I mean, shoot, ask Nyziah when he comes up here, like how we're treated here compared to how we're treated, like how others are able to do things for these young men. So, you know, Nebraska's a great place with you know, unreal resources, and these kids, if they choose to, they can benefit from this every day.
What did you make of that GoPro footage from the huddle? Rule said that you were one of the guys who was telling him he needed to take a look at it. Was that something you've ever seen before, ever done before?
So I saw it for the first time at TCU. TCU was doing that, and so I was like, I asked Coach Dykes, Sonny, I was like, so what? Tell me about this GoPro thing, because I was in the defensive huddle, right, and I was on the defensive side, and so I didn't watch that angle. So I went in there and watched a little bit of it. It's 100% for communication. It's not about where your eyes are. It's not about any of that. It's 100% communication. Now, you can kind of see them looking this way and kind of looking this way. And when they run, they moan. And, you know, if they ever get bumped, they grunt. You know, I mean, all that's kind of funny. You know, if they make a bad pass, they say cuss words. And but it's about the communication. So a lot of times, you know, because we're not in that huddle. And so we don't know what's being said. You know, even like I'm talking to him, telling him to play, but I don't know what he's saying to the group. And so, you know, you get another funny part is you see the other 10, like looking at the quarterback, and you can tell if they're confused at times. Like, hey, what do I got? You know, the stuff that you don't see because you're on the sidelines, you're in the huddle, and so you get the communication. You can hear exactly what the play call is, if they screwed it up, if they said the wrong formation, if they said the wrong protection. So, you know, it really holds the quarterbacks accountable for what they're saying. And then it's the cadence. You know, especially if you're under center, there's a little bit more cadence than if you're in the huddle. You know, Dylan is just next level, telling everybody what to do, making checks, changing protections, you know, making alert calls. It gives coaches just all the answers as far as what was said out there. You know, I think it originated from Hard Knocks, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Dolphins did it and they used it as a teaching tool for new guys. Like, this is what it's going to sound like in the huddle, and you're going to have to be able to, like, leave the huddle and go to the line of scrimmage and line up based on what you hear from the quarterback, not what you see from the coaches.
Lindenmeyer seems like a guy that you've just really liked since you've been here. What are the traits that has made him elevate to kind of a leader on the team and where he's at?
I think all three of those tight ends last year did a really good job. I mean, they all played, you know, a lot. I just, you know, Luke was, I just think he's a football player, man. You know, he was the youngest one, you know, and so I knew he was going to keep getting better and better. But he's another guy that is taking on a leadership role, is more vocal, incredibly smart, plays with unbelievable pad level. Is one of our better receivers, is reliable in the pass game, can get in there and put his hand on the ground and dig people out from a tight end perspective, sees the whole field and knows exactly what's going on at you know, every play. So he's just sophomore, going to be a junior, so he's going to keep getting better. Happy with where he's at. All good? Okay, thank you guys.